Hey, I'm Vinny, this is Makeify. In my last project video, I made fishing lures, little Poké Ball shaped fishing lures. And in that video, I used two contraptions that I made, and I suspect some people want to know more about them, how I made them. So in this video, I'm going to show you those in more detail and teach you how you can make them yourself. So the first contraption is this stand that I used while painting, and when I went to paint the lure, I realized I needed some way to suspend it so I could paint all surfaces. And so I built this just from scrap I had laying around. I built it and designed it on the fly. It took me about 5 minutes. The base is a piece of 1x4, just standard dimensional lumber. You can find it at any home improvement store. I had it lying around. I cut it to 14 inches. I figured that would give me about 12 inches of working space, and that seemed good to me, so I went with that. And I got some 3/4 inch dowel. I already had this, and I just cut two pieces to 10 inches. Again, that seemed like a good length. Then I drilled some pilot holes in the bottom, drilled some pilot holes in the bottom of the support pieces there, and drilled some countersinks, and then just screwed the pieces together with some wood screws. No glue or anything. I wasn't sure if this was gonna really work, and I wanted to be able to take it apart. Also, I could take it apart for storage if I wanted to, but you could easily just glue these pieces in place. There isn't a lot of tension on the support pieces, so glue, even super glue, would probably be fine. Screws are easy enough though. Then I got the smallest screw eyes I could find. I had some. I ended up having to go to the hardware store to buy some more, and I just got the smallest size that they had. They were small enough that I could just push them into the wood and screw them into place. I went with 5 on each. They were spaced 2 inches apart. Again, it just seemed like a good distance, so I went with it. And then on each screw eye, I've attached a standard snap swivel. They're not going to sell that at hardware stores, but anywhere they sell fishing supplies are going to have these. You probably have them in your tackle box if you're a fisherman. One snap swivel on each screw eye, and then to suspend the lure, just using some galvanized steel wire. I had this. Any sort of stiff wire would work. This happens to be 20 gauge. Just about any hardware store is going to have something like this. Twist ties would even work probably, but a nice stiff wire is good. 2 pieces each just have a loop that goes into the swivel and another loop that goes onto the lure. And what I do, the second piece, I'll just bend the one side. I'll bend the one side into a 90-degree angle, and then that will allow you to slide it onto the lure, and then you can close that up and it's suspended nicely. And this works for small lures, it works for bigger lures. The nice thing about the swivels is you can swivel it around. If the tension's right, you can pretty much get it to hold in any orientation you want. This ended up working really well for painting. So the contraption I used when I was applying the epoxy clear coat at the very end is this motorized thing that I made years ago. I built this for making fishing poles, and so the handle of a fishing pole just fits in here, and the motor spins for applying epoxy to the guides. But I thought I could probably use this for the lures, and it worked quite well. So all this is, again, piece of 1x4 dimensional lumber, cut it into 2 pieces. This might actually be the exact same piece as from there. I don't know, I've had that wood for a while. Cut 2 pieces, glued them into an L. Wood glue is strong enough for this. Again, there's not a lot of force being applied. If you're worried, you could put screws or nails in it. The motor is a motor from a microwave turntable. Most microwaves these days have a motorized turntable. If you ever see anyone throwing away a microwave, flip it over, take the bottom off, get this motor. These are nice little low RPM motors. Some people use disco ball motors instead of the microwave turntable motors. The turntable motors are a little smaller, I think. It's just mounted to this one piece of wood with some bolts just right through the mounting holes that were already on the motor. You could probably just epoxy this to the wood as well. It's wired up with just a standard extension cord. Nothing fancy there. The shaft is connected to this piece here, and this is a piece I saved from the microwave. It's just the piece that normally would go on the shaft. The ones I've seen always have three like extensions on them that engage the turntable. That little plastic part, I just put it onto the shaft and epoxied it to this PVC end cap, black PVC, ABS end cap. I think this is 4 inches. Drilled 4 holes about 90 degrees from each other. Mine aren't perfect, but that's okay. It still works just fine. Then I tapped those holes to put threads on them and then put bolts in each of those. These bolts are probably 1/4 by 20. I don't know exactly, but I like using that size bolts, so that's probably what that is. And then they have little rubber end caps on them. And these end caps, you can usually find these at most hardware stores in the section where they sell nuts and bolts. You might have to look a little bit, but most hardware stores have these. And then these would normally clamp down onto the handle of a fishing rod, but what I did is took another piece of this 3/4 inch square dowel, just cut a little cube and put a screw eye in the middle of that. Any sort of square piece of wood would work. Probably doesn't even have to be perfectly square, to be honest, because these are adjustable. And so I just put this in there and tighten down the screws. And now I have an anchor point. So I just use this stand again in conjunction with this. You could make a separate stand if you wanted, but this works. So take one side with the swivel, okay, just goes onto one of the screw eyes. And the other end here, without a swivel, just the wire, goes to the motor. And I just space them apart, just friction provides enough tension, and plug this thing in. And it rotates. And it works quite well for applying a nice finished clear coat at the end. The downside to this is I can only do 1 lure at a time. I don't typically make a lot of lures. If I started making more lures, what I would probably do is replace this with just a circle of wood, like, you know, some thin plywood or something, and put screw eyes around the perimeter of that. Put that on there. Probably connect it, probably just with something like 3/4 inch square dowel to another identical circle with screw eyes, and then I could put multiple lures on that and they would all rotate together. But there you go, nothing fancy, but these things really came in handy. They worked out well. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to keep up to date with my newest videos, or check out my other channel, Makeify 2. I also have some social media links down below. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to keep up to date with my newest channel. You can also subscribe to keep up to date with my newest videos, or check out my other channel, Makeify 2.